I am the mother. I am in the heart of the universe. Throughout all of time, I have never suffered from such heat or exhaustion. I have endured for the last 1,000 years. Since that time, my natural connection points, my rivers, reservoirs, and internal waterways across all continents have been obstructed and are full of pollution. I cannot cleanse or recuperate. In December of 2023, I will start to rise and move and turn, sending this message out to all my children around the world. The storms, the earthquakes, the hurricanes, and the rise of the ocean will come. If the governments, the sultans, the princes, presidents, and kings of the world do not listen and act, in 2 years' time, only 30% of the earth will remain. I am the mother. I have always endured despite arrows being put in my eyes and in my body. I am not seeking to defend myself. I remain calm. But now, I must recuperate. There are 2 ways for me to heal. The first, I could take the law of nature into my own hands. This way I will go in search of my medicine so I can cure my body, heal my energies, and all that I'm suffering from. There will be great changes upon the earth. You will feel me recovering. You will feel me moving. I will not do this to cause harm to you. It will mean I am recuperating my body. Or the second way. All my children will make the healing happen for me, so I will not need to do it myself. I will put my older children in charge of my recovery. They will go and search for my medicines, for my cure, so I can be healed and recuperate with their help. You, my children, must all be united and deliver what is needed for your older brothers so they can do the healing where I have been injured by you, my younger ones. Each one of the rulers of the world, of the governments of the world, must say, "Yes, Mother, I will stand with you. I will give my help to where you have been injured." I, your mother, have given you everything. When these changes start to happen, we will see whether you listen and act, or whether I myself will have to do what I must to recover the balance on Earth. If in just 6 months from now, by June 2024, you say, "Yes, we will provide what is needed," then my oldest children will be able to help cure my body. If this message is ignored, I will take the law of nature into my own hands, 1.5 years from that date. This is the message that the Mother has given, she who is in the heart of the world.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison. I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising as we complete a two-day program on the spring equinox, bearing in mind, as the Kogi prophecy just shown has indicated, that we have 6 months between December of 2023 and June of 2024, from solstice to solstice, to come into a deep reckoning that the mother is about ready to restore herself, and that humanity has a choice as to whether we want to consciously participate in her restoration or whether we will be casualties of her restoration. It's an extraordinary moment to take in, that we're at a reckoning that we've intuited for decades is coming, but we've all somehow deluded ourselves that we have time to keep doing what we're doing. And then maybe by 2050, as the governments keep talking about, and some side, well, we have till 2030, but we're out of time. And we all know that. The point I made yesterday is that what makes this so indelible is the reality that scientific fact is reinforcing spiritual prophecy. In the news today, it was reported that the United Nations reporting mechanism on climate change is saying that not only was 2023 the hottest year on record, going back 125,000 years, but that other records were also broken. Sea levels rose at a record level. The amount of greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere was at a record level. The heat in the ocean was at a record level. The melting of the Arctic ice cap was at a record level. The amount of glacial melt in the mountains around the world was at a record level. And that the prediction for 2024 is that new records in probably each one of these categories and others would be set. And the most fundamental one, that ceiling that the climate scientists have been telling us about, that we can't go above 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, will be broken yet again. 2023 being the first time that it was broken. Climate scientists are predicting an extinction event sometime in 2025 and 2026, an event they say they can't calculate for. But something is going to erupt, they say, out of the global ecology that will strike at the very foundations of civilizational infrastructure. This is one reason why we keep playing this video. And this is why we're preparing our pilgrimage to the great pyramids of Teotihuacan, arguably the most potent of sacred sites right at the center of Mesoamerica, for a gathering, a consecration on the solstice, on the top of the pyramid of the sun, so that at least a few of us, out of the 8 billion plus human beings, along with indigenous people and people of goodwill all over the world, can answer the call of the mother at this time. We're also mindful that in an extraordinary synchronicity of history and fate, almost exactly when the Kogi articulated their prophecy last December, the US government enacted into law for the first time ever the assertion that technologies of unknown origin, non-human technologies, non-human intelligences exist categorically, and that humanity needs to take in that we are not alone, that extraterrestrials are present and have been. There's been sustained contact, and that in effect, humanity, as we teeter on the precipice of self-destruction, is also entering into its ET moment. Something known for thousands of years by the great religious and indigenous traditions, but ridiculed until now. There is so much scientific evidence of the reality of extraterrestrials that the government that's been keeping it so secret for so long has finally admitted the reality. So how the ETs play into these prophecies is a matter of deep challenge for all of us, because I suspect in the end, they're deeply interconnected. So we'll ponder that today in our session. We're very honored and privileged to have 3 women with us who know a lot about both these domains. I want to just bring back in Jody Ma, who we introduced yesterday, who's been working with the Kogi and with indigenous elders for many, many years, and has dedicated herself to the proposition that the indigenous wisdom in the world is the key to the salvation that humanity so desperately needs and seeks at this hour. So Jody will make some opening remarks and then introduce our 2 other elders for today. Thank you, Jody. I turn the program over to you.
Thank you, Jim. Wow, it was kind of remarkable just sitting here and listening to you, how you set our stage today for us to really contemplate and listen deeply. I'm struck by it because the prophecies, as my elders have shared with me over all these many years, the prophecies are preparing us, have prepared us, and now they're giving us the next part of our marching orders, if you would. And so the prophecy of the eagle condor is a prophecy that's being served by many nations around this planet. There are many prophecies carried by many different original peoples' lines, but they are all now coming together in a way like never before. And with the eagle condor prophecy, what it says, so this will mark some of the time frames that Jim gave you. And excuse me if I'm repeating myself, I am in some ways, because some of you may not have been with us yesterday. And I feel this information must travel along with this mother's message. So the way that in 2012, the fountain came into existence because of a vision that we had caught, and we took it down to Colombia. And we were met with representatives of all the 4 original peoples of Colombia. And we've worked in these last 13 years, we've been working with them now, or 12 years, we've been working with them in all 3 of the 4, the Wiwa, the Arawaka, and the Kogi, and they prefer to be called the Kagba Nation. We've been working with them, and they've been giving us the instruction with how to build the fountain, construct the fountain, so it could be an instrument that could be used to serve Mother Earth in this moment of her ascension, in this moment where she's going through great change and moving into what many call her heart chakra. What happened with a small group of us in 2013 was they opened up the next part of this prophecy, and they said we were going to go through a great and deep cleansing. And if you'll think back over these years that have passed since 2013, you can see the remarkable deep cleansing gets more intense and deeper in its process. Through the pandemic, when the whole world stopped and nature began to restore herself very quickly, if you'll remember some of those stories, to now, and what's unfolding with these next 2 years, because they say that in 2026, the ending will fall into the beginning. And that it's important for us to watch the ending as it falls down, to stay informed, but to stay focused on that which is breaking through into the new dawn. And that which is breaking through will be carried by those individuals and organizations and movements that are embodying and basing themselves on the original principles of reciprocity, collaboration, heart, unity. All life is sacred, compassion, tolerance. These are the original principles that we must now embody and completely focus on what Mother Earth needs us to do. And without doubting that at all, totally aligned with that voice, that we then say yes, and we start marching the way that she's giving us to march, for she is leading us into the new dawn. And she's going there with us as a human species or without us. It's up to us now. It's up to us. It's this moment of choice that's so significant. This message that she brought us came to us through a very long process. For you see, the Kogi had told us many years ago that they needed to go up to the north, and things were moving and prayers were being laid down. And then for almost a year, our team was working to bring us into the Arctic. We were working with some of the original peoples of the Baltic countries in order to bring an educational program into being that would bring the original people of the Baltic countries and the Arctic together with the European youth, so that there could start to be an understanding about the language and the mother law of original life, because that's what we're returning to. And that the young peoples that are really wanting to know this knowledge are ready and to deeply listen to this knowledge and receive it, could come together, and they could start to work together in moving in a unified way towards that new dawn. This was in motion. We were invited to be at the Arctic Assembly, where there were going to be about 3,000 peoples gathered from representatives of nations, government officials, people that were having movements and organizations that were working to help restore and regenerate this Mother Earth. We were invited to bring the Kogi once we discovered that they were going to come along with us several months out. They got the message that they needed to activate 4 pillars. And they needed to start that process by opening a pillar in the Arctic. And so we were able to gather resources and bring them with us. We were humbled by this moment that was very synchronized with the history of what was about to unfold, as we came to know. So they came across Greenland. They came with Eleonora was with them, and some of our team were with them. Jeremy, who made this film, was also traveling to record this pilgrimage. They landed in Greenland and they began to lay down the pagamentos, which are the payments to the earth, to repay her, to pay the debt that we need to bring into right relation and balance again for things to move forward in a strong and good way. They moved across Greenland, and they also visited the sacred sites there. Eleonora can speak about some of this when I get to introduce this beautiful, amazing woman that is doing so much with Mother Earth to serve her and what her needs. They moved to meet with in the sacred sites. They gathered and consulted with the beings that lived there to see what was needed to bring balance back to that sacred site. They brought that instruction. They continued to move across Greenland and then met us in Iceland, where they began to do the work there of the pagamentos and meeting with the spirits of those sacred sites. And we were able to bring them into the Arctic Assembly for them to give a message from the mother there. Through that process, we were brought into a private audience with the Minister of the Environment of Dubai, because in Dubai, they were about to have COP28. She invited them to make a message that would be presented there. And then they began to finish up and complete the pagamentos and the work of the pilgrimage that had brought them there. They landed in their closing time right at the volcano. And the volcano told them that she was about to go into a great movement, and they began to share that with the people there, saying, you must listen, because she's told us that she can be more gentle with her flow and go under the cities if you but listen to what she is asking and needing right now, or she will have to flow over the cities. It's your choice. Then they went home. 2 days after they went home, thousands and thousands of earthquakes shook Iceland, and the volcano went off, as you know, and it's still flowing. These are the kinds of signs, the kinds of moments that we must pay attention to, just like Jim was talking about what 2023 brought and all the things that are occurring. I'm still so surprised that so many are still sleeping and can't wake to the moment of choice that we're in. I pray that they do. I pray that they do. So after this work, and we got a message, we got a call that Kogi needed to meet with us, and they began to share with us this message and much more. They asked us to prepare a video that could go out first to Dubai for the COP28, for this message to be heard, and then to flow it around the world, that it was time for people to stand up and make this choice with consciousness, bring their full awareness to point. We don't know if it was shown at the COP, but we do know that our unity.Earth community was there, and they received the message and they flowed it across this beautiful territory of Dubai. And then it began to flow out into the world, and it's become viral, and people are listening, and we are having deep conversations with so many organizations and philanthropists and people that have been moving and working for this earth for so long. For really what I hear her saying is that those that she's been preparing, those that she's been bringing into this moment must now fully activate, fully light yourselves up stronger than you ever thought you could, for that in that moment when we all do that, we will merge into the oneness of who we are, and we will be returning in those last steps of returning back into original way of life that brought us this far. So there are many things happening and occurring. Pay attention. Most of you are living in villages and homes and communities, working there locally as well as globally. Take this message and spread it far and wide. I've put a link into the chats that gives you a link where you can go and get the video as well as the instructions that followed after that video. And so that leads me into introducing Eleonora. Eleonora, if you'll put your video and turn on your mic, I'd really like to get the pleasure of introducing you. My spiritual daughter, I'm really proud of her. I have to have a moment, like that. But as I know Eleonora, she has a heart that is so courageous, so bright, and so in love with this great mother. She's dedicated to this Mother Earth and shows that in many of her ways of passion. She has committed herself to listening deeply to the earth through her own line. She comes from the sacred territory of Mexico, and I'll let her give the right name for that because we've changed so many things with our English. That part of what we're trying to restore and come back to is a way of speaking about these things the way the mother called them. As she gave the original caretakers the mission to care for her. And now she's asking for them to be restored to that place of care. And in that moment, she can then start to heal herself because we'll be listening. Eleonora, after you've been there when we gathered this message and we got to work with Jeremy and had such a short time to bring this about, your voice as you dropped into that state where you are in oneness with the mother is really a transmission through this message, I think. And so I really want to just leave it there, and maybe you want to share also some of the instruction that they've given with the message and will continue to give us as they educate the awakening, is what they said to us when they first approached the fountain and asked us to be a filter for this kind of work. Thank you, Eleonora, for being there, for being so brave. I'm inspired by you daily.
Thank you, dear Jyotima. It's so good to be with you all here today, this morning. Say good morning from the sacred tribal lands of the Ohlone here in Bay Area, California. And yes, what beautiful times we are in, what beautiful times we're sharing up upon this earth, all of us that are waking up each day, in each moment, into the deep listening of what she's whispering into our hearts and into our consciousness, and has been doing for eons of times. And so I think the inspiration of this prophetic times is, are we going to open up to that deep listening? Are we courageous, brave enough in our hearts and in our whole being to surrender to what she is instructing us? And in that way, I wanna honor all of our elders, and I wanna give great thanks for all the instructions that they have been passing on to the younger generations, and also to all of us as younger brothers and younger sisters that are in need of this education, so to say. And the beauty of the just showering of openness of our elder brothers and sisters to make us part of that, to really make sure that we can understand more of what she is saying. Because at the end, they are all older brothers and our older sisters, because they are the ones that have that direct communication with her. And It has been beautiful to be honored and blessed to walk through this last years close to Jyotiman and all the work that has been unfolding inside of this process. As Jyoti just told you, we went up to ignite the first pillar of the North. That was an instruction that came to us last year. And so we traveled with a young leader, representative of a line, old line inside of the Kagaba Nation, and his father, and Mamo Bumamako is one of the Mamos of La Sierra. And they came through instruction and through consultations into this work to go and ignite and pay the pagamentos and so to say ignite the, let's call it the songline up to the north, and what needed to be restored there and what needs to be restored in all our sacred sites of the world. And so the connection and the flow of this breath of the mother can be once again organic, without all the interference that we as younger ones have created with all this unconsciousness that is the times we live in upon this earth. So the invitation is for all of us. And this specific pilgrimage to the north was very, very beautiful in the way that some instruction came down specifically to link the waters. It's always about the waters, of course, but the waters of the north into the sacred territories of the Kagaba, because this is how they work from the territories. They work with all of our territories. And so that link to be reignited, and also to give the instruction and to listen to what the north was saying. And for the Kagaba, the clarity of the instruction is always to know, and for us to understand, that all this knowledge is given and has been given through the times to the original people of the lands that are taking care of these territories. And so the meeting up with the Kagaba, with the brothers, the Inuit brothers and the Sami people, and all of that has been pivotal and pivot for the work. This is where things can be landed and grow. And so this seeding of this watering of the seeding that has been laid down through all this work of our elders around the world needs this beautiful water of our consciousness, of all of us, to be part of this growth. So we all can be here for the generations to come. And so all these transition times we're going through now can be done in beauty, despite everything that's happening, that this consciousness can touch upon all of us, so we can be able to help, to be of help, maybe only as witnesses of it, but to really help ourselves, as you said, Jim, help each other, and in this way awaken to the surrendering that is needed to really listen to what is happening upon our territories and how they are connecting with each other, and how this was and is an organic way for the mother to breathe and restore. And this is how she has done, and she will continue to do. And so are we going to get in her way, or are we going to just, listen and work with her? So the beauty of these Pagamentos of the North was a lot of instruction came down. I want to share a couple of those instructions. And so the understanding that the original people upon the earth are the holders of all this knowledge. So the honoring of these traditional languages that carry all the codes and all the resonance of those territories, how these original languages have to be laid down and seeded into the next generations. And with that, the songs and all the vibration that goes with that breathing of that territory, that helps that territory connect towards all the other song lines around the earth. And how a lot of our sacred sites and our territories, and I'm sure that where you are sitting, if you know yourselves what's happening around your territories and where you are based right now, and to be able to understand, or to calm ourselves down and to understand that we can do much in the places we are, because this is what is needed. So we don't need, a lot of times, yes, we can go and we can do the travel and the pilgrimage and we can help certain work, but most of the time we can also be of help where we are, to understand where the water we drink is coming from, and all that process that made that water come to you. Only that process. The first pagamento we did in the north was the next lagoon to the city we landed in, or the settlement we were in. We needed to go to the first sweetwater lagoon. That was the one that was giving all that life to those people, right? And from there, everything starts to connect and ignite. And so the importance of the original people, of the understanding of the natural law, and this natural law also being the only law that is the law on this earth, the mother law. So all the human laws that come later, and with colonization and all of that newer law that is in some of our territories 200 years old, 250 years old, is such, like, almost, it's a grain, no? And this mother law that is immense, that is the breath of the mother, that is the original law on earth, how they are inviting us and want to reconnect to that through also all this understanding that all of our original people carry, that understanding that this law is the one we as humans on this star water, are in responsibility of taking in, of understanding that we are part of that breath, we are part of that law, and so we cannot fight that. Sometimes we are so in our minds when we really want to have like a ownership of everything, territory, things, this domain of domination and law that is human, is such not important. The understanding that we need to surrender to her and to work with that in harmony with that. And who is going to be our instructive educational team for that? Well, our older brothers. Yes, the Kagaba. Yes, the Kogi, and all our original people on earth.
Well, unfortunately, it looks like Eleonora has frozen. We're having one of those technical moments. So, Eleonora, when you join back, I'm just going to flow because you ended that last thought in such a beautiful way. And it weaves me right here to introduce you to one of my sisters, She Tui, if you'll turn on your video and your microphone. Good morning, sis.
Good morning.
I have the great privilege to get to introduce you. What do I say? We're both sitting here on the sacred territory of the Pomo and the Coastal Miwok people, so I want to acknowledge that with you. I want to acknowledge that you're a bear dancer and have a heart that listens to her peoples, to this Mother Earth, to the Star Nation, that brings all of that together in the ways that you work, in the ways that you serve your peoples, the way you care for your family, the way you hold ceremony and the integrity with which you walk, She Tui. That's all how I know you. I also know you because I've been at that bear dance with you up at Shasta and had an experience there with you with the Star Nation. That was very strong and is very strong for you. And that connection continues to go in a very strong way. And it's bringing new kind of messages to us and with us. So just want to thank you and your Oneida Nation that birthed you and put you here with us in this way. Want to honor all the people on the ground that we're sitting on, this holy, sacred Mother Earth. And as she connects and is doing a dance with the Star Nation like never before, I'm excited now to move back and listen to the stories that you're bringing to us that will help us instruct in this moment. And before I do, I just want to say, Eleonora, you froze, and so we had to flow on. But thank you for your contribution and your good words. We'll get to hear more in just a little while when Jim picks up our discussion. She Tui.
Oh, thank you so much, GOT. Great honor to be here. And you know, I was wondering where I was going to start today, and I'm going to start where you started, and with the medicine of our bear dance. So just a little bit about that is that when we dance the bear, we align with Star Nation, and we have 7 staffs. Each one of those staffs is connected to each of the stars in the Big Dipper, and each of those stars means something. We were told that that the Big Dipper and the medicine of the bear was a part of a prophecy that started in 1987 and ends in 2039. So 2019 was the year that GOT came and joined our Women's Bear Dance Circle. 2019 was a pivotal point for our group and many other tribal people that go to this area in Mount Shasta. We've used this area in Mount Shasta for over 500 years. It's a sacred site that several tribes used prior to ours. And we were brought there by our grandmother, Florence Jones, a well-known medicine woman who passed in 2002. She gave us instructions and basically prepared us for what was coming. While she didn't tell us the exact things that were coming, she gave us some things to watch specifically, and they were the water and money. And as we have gone on, we've realized, wow, those 2 things have definitely stood out. So let me share with you what happened in 2019. And I've actually shared this with my father since, who's now opening up with me more and more about what's going on in Star Nation. My father worked for the federal government and he was sworn to secrecy. He couldn't tell us what he did for a living. So I'm just sharing that because that ties into me sharing with him what happened in 2019. We went out to light our sacred fire, which has been lit for, like I said, over 500 years. And at the point we lit the fire just before sunset, the mountain exploded with all of her blue beings, which we've come to know as the Epinarians. We watched them with our physical eyes coming down the mountain. They circled down and we watched off in the distance as they set down on the meadow that we were doing our prayers in. And as they moved closer to us, we became so overwhelmed with the feeling of love that I have never felt in my entire life. And this isn't like the emotional love. It's a love that is just so hard for my pathetic human brain to articulate. The left side of the mountain also opened up and a huge portal opened, and there was a symbology coming from it, a light shapes and pulsing that we knew was some form of communication, but at the same time, again, not understanding what was happening. So we continued through the evening, and there were 5 of us sisters that were in direct contact with the extraterrestrials. We had communication that, of course, totally overwhelmed us, and none of us knew how to speak of it. We did know what we felt. We had many thought forms put into our minds. We learned in that moment that there's one thing faster than the speed of light, and that's thought. Thought is instantaneous. And this was one of their first lessons to the power of our mind. We are greater than our mind. We were slowly downloaded with instructions the 5 of us have held and worked with since 2019, and it's not always easy. There are times when I find myself searching for words to even explain the thought forms that I'm seeing as I continue to work with the Apenarians. When I shared this with my father, he shared with me another huge event that he told me we really needed to focus on for guidance from Star Nation. We're not alone. He did say they're not going to come and save us. They will help us to save ourselves. They will make sure the planet survives. The planet is a huge part of the universe's heartbeat, as I heard someone else share on the call today. So I want to introduce you to Betelgeuse. Maybe some of you know who Betelgeuse is. Betelgeuse is a huge star in the upper right shoulder of Orion. In late 2019, just following the explosion of Mount Shasta, where the Apenarians came out and greeted us and shared with us, Betelgeuse was doing something also. Now, if you want to look up in the sky tonight, Betelgeuse is the big red star that's, like I say, in the right shoulder of Orion. So Betelgeuse is currently preparing to go supernova. And this is a very important thing for us because she is in direct communication right now with the beings of the planet and Star Nation. In late 2019, Betelgeuse mysteriously darkened as an immense cloud of obscuring dust formed from the ejection site as it cooled. The scientists have been watching this great massive star. She has a 400-day cycle of pulsations. The way my father explained it to me, it's like hitting a huge bell with a hammer. The initial bang on the bell is the darkening point. Since this time, there's a 400-day pulse. The reverberation that you hear in a bell is the same thing that's happening right now with Betelgeuse. So every 400 days, this pulse occurs. So in that pulse is a vast amount of information. And I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail with that right now, but I will say that Mount Shasta is calling us back. And we've been asked to do a pilgrimage this spring. And for me, it's a huge challenge. I'm 66 years old and I am preparing to be able to do this. I was told by Star Nation, I was told by the Apenarians as they demonstrated what it feels like when they enter into our bodies to give us what we need to complete a task. And when I felt that come in during my bear dance, and I was dancing as if I was 30 years old again, I knew I could complete this pilgrimage and that my body would make it. So this spring, I'm going to be hiking up with several other like-minded people to the base of this particular glacier, which underneath the glacier is the doorway where the Apenarians come in and out. And these are the blue ones that I told you we saw coming out of the mountain and walked up to share this information with us. The reason they are asking me and this group of us to hike up there, we're going to be hiking up Mount Shasta to the base of this particular glacier, and the time is of the essence. We are going to this glacier. It is 3,200 years old. And as it melts, it's releasing information from the ice, information that is 3,200 years old. We are going to need that information. So I don't know what we're going to be experiencing. I just know that I need to go up there, that we will be spending 4 nights up there with the glacier. And we're going to be listening, and we're going to be gathering a little bit of the water that's melting from this glacial ice. So there's so much more I could say about that, but I'm trying very careful to be respectful of how much I can say at this point. I would love to share more, and I would love to be able to say to humanity, there's a way to do this. There's a way that we can save our mother and ourselves. And it will require that we understand fully who we are as humans and the gift that we were given when Mother Earth created us. Everything that's in us comes from nature. Our blood that flows through our body contains all the DNA of all the beings of the universe. So if we can tap into that and remember that the universal language that we all speak is love, and I don't mean the emotion of love, it's that love that I felt as the five of us sisters stood there looking into the beings, the blue, the light that they cast, the love that they showed us, the energy, the feeling that nothing is impossible for the human race to accomplish if we can all drop into that heart place. That's how we unite one another, and that's what's going to save all of us. There are many things coming. We were shown all the possibilities, and a lot of them I don't understand. I don't understand what I'm looking at because my brain can only process from my perspective, from what I know. My father says to me many times, you must quiet your mind and realize that the thought forms that we can create as humans are that very tool that we need right now in this moment, our thoughts. So with that said, I think I'll wrap it up right now. And thank you all for this moment. And I just really want us all as humanity to come together and get this activation of heart to go out. We can do this. They tell us we can do this, so I believe them. Thank you so much.
We can do this.
Thank you, She. If Eleanor and Jody would put their videos on. And She, you stay on as well.
Eleonora, She, put your cameras back on.
There we go. I wanted to start, Jody, with you and Eleanor to comment on what She just said in relation to the Kogi. As the Kogi have been over decades now issuing their warnings and making their presence felt in the global conversation about the human future, to your knowledge, what relationship have the Kogi had with the extraterrestrials? Has it played a role in what they're saying or not? Oh, you're on mute. You have to take yourself off mute.
Oh, sorry. I want to really share, what a good question. I want to share that with Shitui, because all of our original people, they hold and serve and care for a whole system. You know, it's not divided in that world. It's a whole system. And so everything correlates, everything responds, everything informs through that whole system. And the star nation and the Mother Earth, the moon, the sun, the first morning star, the cosmos itself, it's all part of that whole system. So, Shitui, I think you can probably give better word to it than me. I want to honor you as one of those original caretakers that way.
Thank you. I think I can sum it up by saying our people work with 3 medicine wheels. The medicine wheel of the center of our Mother Earth, the medicine wheel of her surface, her skin, her life, and all of us, and the medicine wheel of Star Nation. and then the universal medicine wheel. So yes, it's all tied together, and our teachings weave all those wheels together into one massive wheel that takes us to the center. Again, love. The center fire is always a place of possibility, creation, and thought. So yes, they're all tied together with our teachings and our way of life. Thank you for the question.
And
Thank you.
I think that also, to add to that, Jim, it's I think when you were listening to She Tui, and you can really sit in that way of life and be with that way of life, you'll see that our original peoples, they go through their instruction they're given internally and from the source that guides them and directs them. And then they go and they sit and listen where they were told to go. And more instruction comes through, then they come back and there's a dialogue. And the mother's telling us exactly what she needs and what we need in order for life to sustain itself and to continue itself in a strong and beautiful way. And Eleonora, I know you have some words. I know I can feel them bubbling up in you that you might want to share, because you have such a deep connection in this way as well.
Thank you. No, I was remembering our older brothers. They perform a lot of dances, like Sister Shitu here has described. They have a lot of dances, and they dance constantly. And in the dance, every star has a dance. So in that way, the connection is done to all the animals, all the different trees, all the different flowers, all of them, all of this species has a direct connection to one specific star. And so in the moment of creating balance with this dance, which is what they do, and they carry on this impeccably. It has been untouched. So this dance is what keeps feeding this communication, this connection, this instruction. Always. There is nothing that is not connected. From the star from Star Nation, from all our heavens into our sphere, and then 9 layers down all the way into the core of the earth. So this is the connection that they also have as an instruction to take care of, because we are in the middle world, right? So who is helping this connection? Our brothers are, and our sisters are, and the dances are. So yeah.
Brilliant.
Our sacred earth technology.
Yeah. I reminds me of the book written by, I forget his name now, called The Secret Life of Plants. And in that book, he talks about how the different trees and different plants all are sending and receiving cosmic signals to the larger galactic grid out there. So to hear you say that, Eleonora, is very striking to me in light of what science is also discovering. It's no longer in the realm of mythology or kind of indigenous superstition, as they would say. It's something that's been scientifically true, of which the indigenous have always been aware. That's really what's happening. And I'd like to just circle back to you, She Tui, about the Epinarians and this notion that we have this sense that the ETs kind of come in with spacecraft and they fly around a little bit and so forth and so on, but they actually have bases, and Mount Shasta and other spots around the world, mountains, lakes, oceans, also serve as bases for the extraterrestrials that indicate permanent residency on planet Earth. And
Exactly.
I'd like to hear a little bit more. How did the word Epinarians come? Is that something that they call themselves? Did they give you information as to how long they've been burrowed into Mount Shasta? What can you share with us about that particular node?
So Mount Shasta is a neutral zone. And there are several different extraterrestrial beings that use Mount Shasta. The Epinarians have been there long before Grandma Florence Jones, and they came and gave Grandma Florence this information when she was 14 years old. And she was given, well, she called them on our behalf, the little people, because the things that she knew, it was too soon for many of us to hear. We weren't ready. So as we spent these 30 years with her, she would gently nudge us information. Epinarians were the blue people, the little blue ones that came out of the mountain. And then there's also talk of Lemurians. I've never met the Lemurians, but they are in this mountain as well. So being that Mount Shasta is a neutral zone, anybody who takes the time to journey there, because it's quite a little journey to get to this place, is accepted, and they will come and greet you and talk with you. So they're not just specific to us. They're there for everybody. As a matter of fact, it was a little frustrating to me, but I don't know if any of you are aware of the show Ancient Aliens.
Oh, of course.
They did a whole thing on Mount Shasta, and they actually filmed the blue people coming out of the mountain, and that kind of upset me, but it's true, it's there, and anybody who wants to spend time with them, reach out to me. We do take people up there to this site for healing, for just to get rid of anxiety and fear around extraterrestrials, because it's the fear that blocks a lot of us.
And Eleonora, do you have any comment on that? Jody, anything either of you know about the extraterrestrials establishing permanent presence on the Earth?
The part that got me curious, so I don't want to I want to move around with your question for a moment.
Sure.
It keeps coming up and it won't go away. Some information that's coming to us this morning from Shitui about the bell ringing moment. And it feels like that pulse in these, 400 days, 400 days, there's another pulse. And so when would the next pulse come? I'm curious, with all that's in motion right now, because again, that's this whole system responding and connecting to itself. Would you tell us a little bit about that, and then I'll circle back, Jim. I'm not ignoring your question, but I think this might be a part of how
please.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree with you more. So what I'm going to do with that question is defer to my dad. So again, I've been working very closely with my father. He's 90 now, and he's been very instrumental in helping me with the science and the prayer and bringing it together. And I will ask him that question. He's a star man. He's always in the sky. He builds his own telescopes, and his job, when he worked for the federal government, he had a gag order. He wasn't allowed to say the things he knew about the relationship that the military has with the extraterrestrials. He gives me a great warning, and this pulse is a wake-up call that we must stop playing around with this technology. So I will check in with him, because I think he'd be more than glad to share with me the timing of the pulse. And he is going to be giving me a little more information on another set of beings that come from Pleiades. So there's a lot more coming as he begins to open up. And, as he ages, he's getting a little less fearful of them pulling his retirement for saying the wrong thing. And he's beginning to realize that the information that he has is crucial
Yes.
to us right now, and that he doesn't want to be on his deathbed saying, "Oh my God, I wish I would have told my daughter more." So I will get back to you on that.
You know, some of the most important information that we've received, you know, through the New Paradigm Institute here in Washington have been from people literally on their deathbed.
Yeah.
Having had a gag order and threats and all kinds of intimidation to keep everything secret. And then finally, when they know that they're dying and that they're soon beyond the reach of the federal government, they begin to just speak their minds and share.
Well, can I say one
Yeah,
more thing?
please.
The reason for this is that what's coming from our military industrial complex, if we don't absolutely understand clearly the difference between extraterrestrials and our government's back engineering, they're going to scare the hell out of us and we're going to be polarized.
Exactly. And in fact, a colleague of mine yesterday was in New Mexico, and he'd been invited to a ranch that abuts up against an extinct volcano, and they've got videos of UFOs and U.S. government military planes going in and out of the volcano. So this relationship between the government and the ETs is a very murky one, and very ambiguous, but very, very true. And I would love to explore this more deeply, Shitui, maybe have you back and some others that talk specifically about that. But I would like to kind of round out our conversation today, maybe with Eleanor, and then maybe you could make a final comment, Jody, about how you have personally been illumined by your association with the Kogi. And I say this as someone who, from the very first moment I heard about them back, I think it was when the BBC did a documentary back in the late 80s, early 90s, I just instantly and incontrovertibly knew that this was true. And I needed to take it extremely seriously. But I've been sort of on the outside looking in as information is kind of filtered out. The two of you have been, you know, intimately engaged with them. And I would just wonder, you know, since we're putting so much stock on here in Humanity Rising and Ubiquity and the Sharts Academy and going to Teotihuacan, just would love to hear from you your own sense of the authenticity of what it is that they are channeling, because I think there have been many indigenous prophecies, as we all know, but there's something about what the Kogi are saying and the way it's being channeled that strikes me as unusually profound. We'd just like to have your comment on that, starting with you, Eleonora.
Thank you, Jim. So I would just like to touch a little bit to say, if you look at this continent we are, most of us sitting on right now, so this Americas, let's call it, and we have the heart of the world that the Kagaba understand to be their territory in the middle, the equator of it. And from that sacred territory that used to be the Tairona territory, one of the cultures, the ancient cultures of priests and teachers upon these lands, the Kagaba are those people. They flew up to the mountain to maintain this culture. And they, as many others, you know, we have the Wiraricas in Mexico, we have a lot of cultures and people that flew up and kept this knowledge. And because they are the guardians of these sacred lands of the middle of the heart of the eagle condor, in a way. There are more condor than eagle, but they're in the middle. They carry some deep understanding of all of this landmass, of course, and north, south, east, west through the world. And because their preparation, or how they get instructed into this domain of being, not all of them are mamas or spiritual elders, some of them are, but this instruction on how to take care of this educational process in the dark, in the void, in the universe, so to say, in the womb of the mother, this is what makes this connection so clean and clear. And the fire that they have been guarding up there has never been extinct, so to say. It's a fire of knowledge that comes from the ancestral times, from the ancestral, that connects to all the ancestral times, to all the ancestral fires that got hit on this earth, but they kept that fire untouched. And so that is the knowledge that is coming through. And of course, it's heaven, earth, it's all of it. And they are guardians of this. It's very clean. And I have part of my ancestry is from the Americas. I am also ancestry in Scandinavia. But for me, coming north and south and being, living on this continent and understanding also the way of how energy moves through this continent and touches upon the sacred places and the sacred sites upon our continent, the Tairona and the Kagaba, they hold this, so to say, this movement of it in the middle of it, and they are so important for all of the understanding of the ancient knowledge of the ancient of all of the territories on this Americas. And they are very important for that because they still carry that. It's untouched. And it is, yes, it when you hear that knowledge being channeled or true, or even the words, even though it's, Kagaba to Spanish in a very missionary Spanish, understanding and then to English. But what slips through is the knowledge. Is like you can feel it. Yes. And it's because that heart, that fire that they have been guarding is pure. It is. They are priests on this side of the lands. So yeah.
That's why they're called the older brother. For that very reason.
Yeah.
That's
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to build on what Eleonora said, because as we spoke about yesterday, Jim, I think because they go in the mamos that are bringing some of this message for the Kagaba and for all of us, for all nations, they go when they're caught at birth, and they go into the womb of the mother, and they do not see the light of day until they're 9 years old. And then they come out and go through an exam. And then if that consciousness they carry isn't fully open, then they go back inside the womb of the mother until they're 18. And we've worked with some that were 28 years in the caves. So when they come and go into consultation, and they go in and they come back out, they're totally submerged in the mother, in the source of that beating heart of the mother, because that's why they call the La Sierra Nevada the heart of the world. And what's been interesting for us, because we walked for over 3 decades with the Great Sioux Nation, working hard to return the Black Hills into their caring hands once again, they call that the heart of everything that is. So right now there's a beat between the North and the South in the heart of this universe, not just the Earth, because as Shutui was talking about, the Earth is seen as the heart of this universe. It's a beating, it's a pulsing heart. That's why I'm so interested to see what this bell ringing is going to bring about in the pulse, in the heart of everything that is in the heart of the world, as these collaborative forces are now bringing us into a full unification process. And if we can wake up and be present in this, it's quite an honor. As hard and as challenging as all of this is, it's an amazing honor, and we chose it, because I believe we chose to put our skins on right now so we could be in service to this moment, so that we could witness this moment, and we can celebrate the new dawn. We got it. I love how you are having such truth sharing here. I love that we're not, leaning back and doing even that dance. It's because it's really time. We've really got to come to the table, and we got to be courageous and humble enough to just share the truth of what we're bringing, and listen to that which our original people are bringing, because they live in a relationship with that dance, with Mother, Father, Earth, Father, Sky, and the dance and the love that goes between them constantly. That is that love force that She Tui was talking about. It's I'm starting my 77th year walk around the sun, and I really would love to go up on top of that, go up to sit with She Tui. When they ask me to go high up in the mountains, they always try to figure how are we going to get grandma up there, because when they're 100 years old, they run up and down the mountain, and you'd think it was just like moving on water. They're so graceful and move quickly. They don't move slow.
So just come and sit at the fire when I'm up there. They're going to light the fire in the altar, and there's going to be people sitting down there as I go up. So you're invited.
I'm coming.
One thing I
come back with more stories, Jim.
Yes. Well, I'm going to ask She Tui to give us a kind of a final blessing before we close, but I'd like to make just one comment on what you were saying earlier, Eleonora. I thought it's a very profound point, that the potency of the Kogi at this moment is due to the fact that they've kept their flame intact. They've kept the integrity of the flame, by receding way up into the mountains so that it couldn't be broken. And now that flame is coming down. And it's so interesting to me to think about the Kogi flame coming to the pyramid of the sun on the solstice, in the sense that what was created in Teotihuacan, we don't even know when it was done. And when the Aztec got there, it was already not only ancient, but it was ruined. That's how ancient that site is. And yet, like Chartres Cathedral, it was built to contain, kind of in stone, the totality of their understanding about the cosmos. It's astronomically, extraordinarily exact, and with aspects of our solar system that modern science didn't know until about 100 years ago. Right? So to have the flame of the Kogi with the integrity of its longevity come to an ancient mirror of the cosmos on the solstice just strikes me as an extraordinarily potentiated way to consecrate what's going on, and I'm feeling a deeper and deeper reverence for what it is that we're seeking to do as a result of these 2 days of discussion than I did before the discussions even began. And so I just want to honor that and thank you all for that. And it's my hope that between now and the solstice, we can have you all back just to deepen our understanding of the ringing of the bell in Beetlejuice and how that's playing in to what it is that we're seeking to do. And the rising flares of the sun, it's approaching its solar maximum right at that time that the Kogi are saying we're going to have this reckoning. So there's many, many aspects to the natural order of things cosmically and planetarily considered that are all just starting to come together in an exact alignment. It's a very, very powerful moment that we're living in. Extraordinary, extraordinary.
Yes.
Extraordinary. We're almost out of time so that Jody can go to her next place. So I'm just going to thank you so deeply from my heart for this illumination. And Shitui, give us just a final blessing.
And before
thank you.
he does that, I saw the link for the chat over here. Just a technical question. Do Shitui and Eleonora have to click on that link in order to join the chat? Okay, I just want to make sure they knew that. It's in the chat. So you guys.
The chat is in the chat box, and you received it in your Zoom reminders, everyone. And everybody will be delighted beyond measure if the two of you can join for a deeper conversation.
Thank you.
Shitui.
So I want to take a moment here to link us all up to that great red star that matches the color of the blood that flows through our bodies, and connect to our beautiful star who's ringing that bell, and put this thought form into your mind, your powerful mind. We now see our Mother, the Earth, totally healed. We now see the water running clear, fresh, and unpolluted. We now see the tall trees, vibrant, the flowers blooming. Our Earth is now healed. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Thank you, everyone.
Yahweh.
Happy equinox. We hope to see as many of you who are able on top of the pyramid of the sun on the solstice. Bye for now. Thank you all so much.